Glad to see the chat going off. We are going to get started here. I'm sure we'll get a couple more people trickling in, but let's make the most of our time together. So, hello, welcome. My name is Shella Gupta. I'm a senior marketing manager here at Kickstarter. We know how busy things can get with your days and coming off of a long weekend. So, just thank you for taking the time today. We hope that it's a really great use of your time. Today, we're going to walk through how to launch a short film here on Kickstarter with a focus on getting ready for our long story short open call. You'll hear from Taylor here. She's our senior outreach lead for film, and she'll share practical tips on building a strong campaign and setting yourself up for success. Beautiful. Thank you for this housekeeping slide. So, a quick couple notes. I saw a question in the chat about this being recorded. Yes, we will record this session. We will send you an email afterwards with a recording as well as some other great creator resources. Reminder to keep your mic muted. But of course, if you want to go on camera, we would love to see your faces. And then you're welcome to use the chat to share projects you're working on, your name, where you're from, all that great stuff. If you have questions, we ask that you use the Q&A box for questions. So that should be in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. If you don't see it, click the More button with three dots, and then up there you should see a Q&A with a question box. There you can ask your own question. You can also upvote other questions. So if you see one that is something you are curious about as well, that'll help us make a great decision on what to kind of answer in the short amount of time that we have together. Okay, housekeeping over. If we can go to our next slide, please. Icebreaker here. Okay, so if you could drop in the chat, what is one word that describes either the short film that you have in production right now, or if you have a short film idea that you're just kind of noodling on, would love to see one word to describe that. Horror. We love the horror genre. Heartfelt, experimental, pirates, sci-fi, animation. We love melancholy, more animation, puppets. I love puppets. Modernization, Hitchcockian. Say more, please. 1970s. This is a great adventure. What a great mix. Pets, profitable. That is what we're here for. I appreciate that. Unreal, traditional, pet therapy. Wow, love this. It sounds like we've got some really, really cool ideas generating. Feel free to keep dropping one word to describe your short film, and we'll go ahead and keep moving along. All right, just a quick agenda here. We'll go over, what Kickstarter is, give sort of a crowdfunding 101. We'll speak specifically to film on Kickstarter, and then diving a little bit deeper into that too, we'll dive into the long story short open call, what an open call is, what this specific one means for films, and kind of how you can get involved. Taylor will share tips and tricks on launching a successful campaign, how to work in press and marketing, and then we'll leave time at the end for audience Q&A. We have some questions that you have pre-submitted, and then of course we'll use the Q&A box as well. All right, Taylor, it's all you. I'll let you take it from here.
Thanks so much, Shella. Hey, everybody. Really excited to be with you all today to share some tips, tricks, and just get you ready for long story short. I'm Taylor K. Shaw Omachinu. I'm the founder of BWA Studios, an animation studio, and Forbes 30 Under 30 Hollywood and Entertainment honoree. Last year, I joined Kickstarter to lead our film category, and it has been a fun, fast, and furious ride. Over the last year and now plus. I really serve here as a direct contact and in-house support on select, film projects. I also craft the film category strategy and manage partnerships with the Gotham, Tubi, and more. I don't know if you all have seen more recently. We have a new partnership with Tubi where we are helping filmmakers get distribution on the platform, and that is a new update that we're very excited about here at Kickstarter. So our story in our now, 17-year history is that we help bring your creative projects to life. There are some stars I'm sure you see in this video from Brandon Sanderson, all the way to Bill Nye and, Peloton. So across the board, Kickstarter has helped, thousands and thousands of creators with bringing their creative work to life. Some core things you need to know about Kickstarter is that we have one an all or nothing funding model, which for a lot of filmmakers is often intimidating. We think this model is the best and it has worked so well for a lot of filmmakers because it creates the sense of urgency for our community to be supportive to you and your projects, to back you in what we recommend 30 to 35 days. So we'll talk a little bit more about working with that strategy and not against it. We also offer reward crowdfunding. So especially in film, a lot of times you are offering folks like, hey, support me with dollars, you'll have access to my film. Where leveraging the platform helps us take that a bit further and you actually building a community around the film and not just having people go and screen it. So we'll talk about that. Creatively, we are a B Corp, and it is our goal always to make sure that we are being fully supportive to you all. So we'll talk about that specifically in film. And here, all projects must have a creative outcome. That's a requirement. So the projects that we accept and the ones that do the absolute best on the platform are you are asking people to help you with a specific creative idea that they can get behind. By the numbers, we have helped nearly 300,000 projects get funded. Over $9 billion have been pledged to Kickstarter projects. And we've had 24 million, likely plus, backers on the platform supporting creators just like you. So our audience is there to support you. And specifically with film on Kickstarter, um, there's some very impressive numbers and accolades here specifically. Over $600 million has been raised for film on Kickstarter. That includes over 35,000 successful film projects, over 4 million unique backers, three Oscar wins from 18 nominations. I'm headed to Sundance shortly. We always have tons of films at Sundance, South by Southwest. The list really goes on. A couple of campaigns that we want to highlight for you all was recently The Apprentice, which actually you can watch now on Tubi. That's a recent update. But The Apprentice ran an Oscars marketing campaign with us recently. You see how many folks they have back and the number that they were able to raise, a little over 400K. This project, I saw some folks said animation is what you're working on, which is exciting. This project from Wonderstorm, the Dragon King, ran a campaign last year and they did over $1 million. And we think it's just so awesome to show where some folks started. Chloe Zhao, of course, as you all know, who just won a Golden Globe for Hamnet, started on Kickstarter. Avenia DaCosta, who ran a campaign for Little Woods, which you can actually, I believe you can watch it on Hulu. And she had a movie come out last year, Hedda, which was my personal favorite movie of last year. So let's get into the meat of it, and really talk about crowdfunding and best leveraging our platform. So some common misconceptions, I want to debunk them. Crowdfunding, one, is not begging. You are inviting your community and new folks who may be interested in your work, the story that you have to tell, the narrative that you're sharing. You are inviting them into that process. What I say to a lot of folks, Issa Rae, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, they also ran Kickstarter campaigns. And what I always say is I would have loved the opportunity to be invited into Issa's creative process when she was making her early YouTube show, Misadventures of an Awkward Black Girl. So what we really want to impress upon you all here is that crowdfunding and leveraging the Kickstarter platform, it's an invitation to invite the audience in to be a part of what you're building. um, Next, social media. Social media is a tool, but it's not necessarily what makes your campaign a success. And this is really important. You might see people online have 1 million followers. That does not mean that those folks are actually deeply engaged as community members with the work that they produce. I believe, it's a lot better to have 300 people that follow you that you can directly go to and say, hey, support, my work, join my campaign, join the movement, join the story. So we'll talk about that relationship building and really connecting and engaging with your audience directly. And you really don't need a new set of skills. You need to apply yourself. So, in making a movie, you all are all the CEOs of that production. It takes many different hats and tiny miracles grouped together to make a film. And we know that and respect that fully, that process. So, you don't need a new set of skills. You all know as filmmakers how to make it happen. What you do need to leverage though is all of your talents to apply yourself and let people know essentially that they can be supportive to your film. So some of the benefits of Kickstarter to you all is one, creative independence. In no way do your backers have any say in your creativity, how you are creating the actual project. They are here to be supportive to your vision. So that autonomy creatively stays with you. We are reducing the barriers to who can make a film. And a lot of that comes from you um, jumping right in and saying, I am going to do this. I'm going to greenlight myself. Again, as I've said, connecting directly with your audience, that is so important, especially now in this moment in the industry. Having that direct relationship and owning it and owning the emails of folks who you can invite to a theatrical, screening of your film is essential. And really, you get to reveal how things are made. So you're inviting people into this process and you get to reveal how they're made. And I think we take that for granted a lot of times as artists. But most people, will never make a film. And so that invitation is really special. So on the creative independence front, I don't know if you all had a chance to see the movie The Last Black Man in San Francisco. Really beautiful film. I cried on a plane watching it. But these artists, again, they really had the autonomy to set the direction, and then they made a critically acclaimed film. Reducing barriers and taking risk. Matthew Cherry, who did win an Oscar for Hair Love, came to Kickstarter because it wasn't the easiest to get just in the industry get funding for the type of project that he wanted to make, which was really uh, pro young Black girls loving their hair, and they also presented a hair act to be supportive to that overall mission. So they invited folks on that mission to help them address systemic issues. And then building a community, this filmmaker, Yashadai Owens, who made a film about James Baldwin, he really went out and was posting stickers all over, New York about the film. And he really did an awesome job creating a grassroots movement around the film, so much so that Barry Jenkins actually ended up becoming a mentor of his because he discovered the film on our platform. And revealing how things are made again in animation. Frank E. Abney ran a campaign for Canvas, and it was just great to get a behind the scenes look at this project in particular. And it did well because of how the filmmaker articulated and shared their work with the audience and brought them into the process. And that's what we want to do through these campaigns is bring folks into the process. And it's a special process. So allowing them to feel like they are helping you create or creating with you. So, long story short, specifically, what is it? It's a month-long program where we spotlight bold short films and connect filmmakers with our global community of backers. It runs in March. It actually first launched in 2020, and we are excited every year to celebrate your short films and, give them that extra boost on our platform. So visibility is a huge benefit of you all joining. We often curate or we do curate, long story short. projects and, give them special attention on our website through our newsletters that have a really great reach, social media channels throughout the month. What we see is that a lot of films that launch as part of Long Story Short have a 42% higher success rate than those launched at any other time of the year. So if you are going to run a short film campaign, this is a great time to start prepping it for March. And the community piece is essential. You get to join a very dynamic group of filmmakers that showcase their work during the special event. Really, support wise, you have access to Kickstarter's resources and guides that'll really make sure that your campaign is best set up for success. So, if you are curious about, and I hope you all are because you're here, if you're curious about how to participate, you want to, one, create your film project. On Kickstarter, you go to shorts as your subcategory and select that. You apply using the long story short link. It's on our website. I'm sure we'll also link it out here. And once your project is reviewed, our team will add it to the long story short program, giving it that badge, and you'll be notified via email. And you have to launch in March. So that's our window. In that March window, you will be included in long story short. So I'd like to share some helpful short film examples. We have quite a few here. I'm going to deep dive into a couple more. One great example is Last Call. So Winnie Cheung is the filmmaker behind this film that was actually premiered at South by Southwest last year. And when traditional funding fell short, Winnie turned to Kickstarter, launched during Long Story Short, and 5 years later, her short film premiered at South by Southwest. So that really shows what's possible with the clear vision and supportive audience. And when he was able to raise at that time 23,000 to complete the short, and the longer feature project premiered at South by Southwest. What Winnie did well was building those relationships, maintaining them over time, and keeping the momentum going through personal outreach. Another campaign that we're really excited about is Take Me Home. It began as a short film. The film is about family, disability, care, and then it grew into a feature later when the project received $1 million grant from Tribeca. So now what's wonderful is that the film is actually about to premiere at Sundance this year. So just a really great example of how early community support on Kickstarter can build momentum for a film, help it gain visibility, and then really attract real opportunities beyond the campaign. So that initial raise for the film on Kickstarter was about $25,000, and audience and social media engagement really helped this campaign. So some basics about running a campaign. One, you really want to define your idea and identify the audience for it. Two, you want to work out how you're going to make it and how much it costs. Three, you want to start to connect with your audience and share your work. So right now, we're still in January. This is a great time to start to connect with that audience and tease out this idea of, hey, I'm going to be running this campaign as part of Long Story Short in March. You set up, I'll jump to step 5 in a second, but you set up that pre-launch page, and that's helpful for that. So you want to connect with that audience. 4, you want to build your campaign page under film and video on our site and get approval. 5, that pre-launch is great. We recommend at least 1 to 4 weeks. Honestly, you all could set up pre-launches now if you would like, and you're starting to promote the campaign. For your launch, we recommend 30 to 35 days. Again, creating that sense of urgency for your backers, your community. And then step 7 is the post-campaign updates. We have a cool new feature also called late pledges, where even after your campaign is finished, you can opt in for late pledges. And that means that folks can continue to back your campaign even after it is over. So highly recommend setting up late pledges. And then for the post campaign updates, making sure that you keep people abreast of um, the campaign happenings. So they feel like, again, in terms of that behind the scenes look, they feel like they are in on the process of making your film. So, some elements of a successful campaign: a solid plan, storytelling, and community building. So, when we say a solid plan, what we mean is, you know, and storytelling. Does your campaign page accurately and in a compelling way offer to your audience, okay, this is what the film is. This is how we're going to execute it. This is the team. This is our, overall vision, and communicating your plan for your film strategically builds trust if you are able to identify how you're going to tackle it, and it seems like a very, well thought out campaign. It builds trust and supports also with the community building aspect, because if it seems like this project is legit and it's going to, be a viable one, it does help build community around the project. So you start the project, you create a basic draft, and then you send the project out for review. This should take about 40% of your page preparation time. The other 60% is creating that pre-launch page. You can create a customizable URL, finalizing the draft, editing it based on all of the resources that we have on our site, based on what I'm sharing today, and just making sure that it is hyper solid and compelling, and then launching the project. What goes into the plan overall: budget, how much is it going to cost to deliver, rewards, pricing and shipping plan, and identifying your audience, knowing who and where they are. In terms of telling your story, you want to have a project video that is compelling. So we typically recommend, no more than 2 minutes. You want to let people know uh, what the film is, what's urgent about it, why does the story need to be told in this moment, and what the invitation is. Project description, again, clearly communicating this is the story. This is who I wanted to reach the audience, and here's the invitation to you. Your rewards and any updates are important as well. As I said, video, keeping it tight, max 2 minutes, showing your work up front. If you have video footage that you can share from the film, that's awesome. If you're not there yet, any principal photography, that's great. Showing yourself is essential, because right now, before the project is complete, we are buying into, folks are trusting you and buying into you. So they want to hear your vision, who you are as a filmmaker, and why this story is so essential to you. Oops. Project description. So that main image that captures the imagination on the page, a headline that clearly illustrates your campaign, talking about your ambitions, inspirations, and motivations, sharing your progress so far, as I just mentioned, and sharing your team. So this is a good example. The documentary Knock Down the House, which I believe can be found on Netflix. Um, Letting folks know it's a documentary, sharing the name of the actual project itself, giving in a really clear, concise, brief description here. Same here for this animated short film. Saying it's animated short film, giving a great brief here, mentioning any notable name, Brian Cox, mentioning any notable names as part of the project. Sharing your team. So this recent animation campaign, actually, by the Coker brothers, raised almost $100,000 from 929 backers, and they did a really great job of sharing their team, their previous accolades, the studios that they've worked at, to build trust that they could deliver on a pilot. They're actually making a pilot for a longer feature. When it comes to rewards, the most common pledge that we see is about $25. And an ideal set of rewards is about five to seven strong ones. $100 is the tier that typically generates the most money. So when you think about rewards, what I say to folks all the time is think about what you would pay for. At $25, $35, what is it that you would pay for? Unfortunately in New York, that's a movie ticket. So you would offer digital access to be able to watch your film. For $100, is that a Zoom with you as a director plus a few other lower tier reward examples? So it feels really robust and like folks are getting the bang for their buck. For film projects, there are, digital rewards we highly recommend. So that's non-physical rewards. If physical rewards are essential to your project, of course, please offer them, especially if you believe that your audience will want them. But for film, there are a lot of things that you can offer digitally, like Zooms, like access to the film, and also considering if you do any in-person events, though, offering like VIP tickets to screenings, etc. Those are really great rewards. Experiences are great, so people being able to visit, set is is a great reward. We've seen folks get super creative. A film last year partnered with a bar where backers could get a drink named after them at that bar. Because the film is about, it was kind of a grungy Brooklyn-based film. And so that's something that they came up with. So you can get creative. And thanks or special thanks in the credits is a really, really impactful reward because everybody wants to see their name in lights. So finding your backers, you want to first build a contact database. So that is going through all of your emails, going through your social media, going through your phone numbers, really building a contact database of folks who you, first of all, you should share with just everyone that you're doing this. And then also be really strategic and thoughtful around who you believe will want to support you. For me, that would probably include like teachers from first grade. That may include college professors. They may include folks I used to work with. So really being strategic and then contacting those people directly. So doing this helps us roughly estimate the potential a dollar amount that your community could pledge to your campaign. So what I also love to say to folks is think about, okay, who's in that $25 they'll buy a movie ticket tier? Who's in the $100, I believe this person may have the means to support at this level, and what I'm offering at this level will be attractive to them. Who's at the $1,000? And we do have 5,000 and $10,000 tiers, like rewards can go up to 10,000. Who would fit in those buckets as well, if anyone comes to mind? And set a certain number of people that you're targeting at those numbers. So if it's the $100 tier and you want to target 50 people at that tier, like let's set that goal, make that list of those people. Maybe it's more than 50 people, which would be great, and go from there. But we always want to guesstimate based on an educated guess, and that comes from making a list and breaking it down. In terms of press, so research who would be the most passionate about your project, personalize your outreach to each publication, make your columns short and sweet. And this is essential, targeting non-film specific press as much as possible. Somebody wrote, I found this interesting, modernization is what your film is about. Interesting. What publications, they don't have to be film related, would be interested in the themes of your film? Is it, a tech magazine where AI is the conversation and you're making a dystopian film about, so where, can it align? So think outside the box, because often those places will have an audience that you are looking to connect with and that would be interested in backing your film. So you do not have to be in Deadline Hollywood. Honestly, will those people necessarily back, the campaign? So you want to think, where can I get real deep engagement? Oh my gosh. Okay, we're already at the Q&A. So I'll pass it over to Shella.
Yeah, thank you, Taylor. We've got some great questions and we'll kind of loop back to press and marketing. I see a lot of questions there, so don't worry, my friends. First, kind of stepping back a little bit, for long story short, or for launching a Kickstarter campaign in general, how much of a story needs to be completed, or what phase of development should a film be in when they look at crowdfunding?
Great question. So you can be in, for long story short, especially because it is a short film, you can be in pre-production. You could be writing the script. You could also be about to shoot the project. You could be looking for post-production funds. Essentially, what is key across the board in running a Kickstarter campaign is that you want to communicate very clearly to your audience what you're raising for, why you're raising the amount that you're raising, and the timeline. So, as long as you are being honest with your audience about the timeline and you are leveraging our updates tab for you to be able to share what's going on, and you are going to make the film, then you can be really at any phase of the production. You just want to let them know, like, hey, I'm writing for this next 6 months, and then we're going to shoot, and then, that's how it's going to go. I think it's always best to be in a position where you're ready to go into production right now because it then does create a greater sense of urgency for your backers. If you're saying, hey, we're planning to shoot in April, and it's January right now. So we could really use your support right now.
Perfect. When it comes to funding and sort of building the project budget, what is there a range or a good average number that a project should be at? So like 10,000 versus 25,000. And then kind of thinking past that also, how would you price or think about pricing so a high tier reward like a walk-on role or an associate producer credit?
Hmm. This is a really great question because as I mentioned our all or nothing funding model. So what you want to do is ensure that you set a goal that you know for a fact that you can hit. There's no penalty for setting a lower minimum goal on our platform. We hate to see folks not hit the goal because they set the loftier target that they have and not what they need, or even better yet, what might be helpful. So for your short film, if getting $5,000 is going to help you actually make it, then set the goal at 5,000. If 50,000 would help you have insane special effects, then you just let your audience know that on your campaign page by utilizing creating a graphic and utilizing what we call stretch goals. So set the lowest possible goal on our site. The algorithm actually really supports projects that successfully fund as soon as possible. I don't know if you all saw in the graphic for the Dragon King, it said, I believe, successfully funded and successfully met their goal. I believe it's 24 hours. It was quite quick. That's where you want to be because then your conversation to everyone is, I'm already a winner. Now help me, get to the next level. Human psychology, unfortunately, most of us are bandwagon fans. I'm from Chicago. I'm a bandwagon Bears fan right now. So, we really want to the platform really supports you like being successful already. And the way, you might need 20,000, right? And you set a goal for 5K, then what you communicate to your audience is if I get $5,000, I'm going to be able to go travel, shoot in Vermont, and these scenes will happen. And then you'll see, maybe they'll see a short film. If you are then get 10K, maybe they'll see, your full vision. So you just want to communicate that. And I think there was a second part to the question, right,
Yeah,
Shella?
how would you think about pricing a reward tier that's something like a walk-on role or associate producer or some higher level of involvement or seeming involvement with the film?
Yeah. Um, it's so for these. prices, think about who you know and think about what they would pay for that. You think about your audience, right? Where you are right now in your audience. I will flag that the PGA does not like the offering of producer credits. I will also say that folks offer it all the time, so that's a personal choice for you all. But when it comes to offering people a spot as an extra or, visiting the set or getting a one-on-one with you as a director, um, you you really want to just think through, okay, um, what would my audience pay? And I'm also not saying, cheat yourself. Think about a goal that feels like maybe like a little bit of a stretch, and you should test with the people that you know or people that you know that maybe have a certain level of means. You should test and say, hey, I would love for you to come on to my project as X, or hey, I would love to invite you to do X, and gauge their interest and say, okay, this is the price, and you could back the Kickstarter campaign at this. You can, at this level, you can test that before you actually launch the campaign instead of guessing and hoping. You don't want to guess and hope with your Kickstarter campaign, especially for film. You want to gauge interest in advance. And the more that folks see that people are supportive to you, again, that's why it's so great to be ready to go in March, having already gauged folks' interest. Because once people see that momentum is happening, you can go to them and say, wow, my campaign is really picking up steam. Would love to invite you to also be a part of it. I'm planning to submit to Sundance, South by, all these different places, or I'm planning to do a limited theatrical run for it. And Kickstarter is supporting my film. You can see that they're promoting it. They've put us out to their newsletters that go out to hundreds of thousands of people. I would love for you to also be a part of backing. So that's really important. And I can ramble on about that all day. So I think let's go to the next question.
I know you're a wealth of knowledge. We love it. Okay, I've got some questions here on marketing, which we've touched on, right? A couple questions here on, building momentum, gaining traction, if you have a small following. And then I have one question from Brian about Kickstarter's marketing tools. So, what tools are available, maybe from a performance perspective or getting in touch, with outreach?
hmm and the first question was about if you have a small
Sorry, just
following.
build how do you build momentum during the campaign and then thinking about well, let's start there. How do you build momentum during the campaign?
hmm So, what some folks will describe across crowdfunding, campaigns is kind of the mid campaign, like, okay, I've kind of reached out to everyone at the beginning, still trying to hit my goal. How do I get folks engaged? You want to create the conversation, a new narrative, new opportunities throughout your campaign. So what that can look like is you say, hey, I've already hit 10K. If you all help me get to another $1,000, I have, a backer who's going to come in and match that next $1,000. And so that is a good incentive. Choose a bite-sized goal that folks in your community can support you with. And then maybe if you find a bigger backer who can then come in and support, then that narrative oftentimes can help. If you don't feel like you have access to those bigger backers, then you can say, if you all could help us get to $1,000, an extra $1,000, that would help me be able to pay a better editor, and have them spend more time on the film, and then that would help us with our festival submissions because editing is essential. Also, you can say if you help us get another $2,000, that's going to help me. You've already helped me so far. Amazing. That's going to help us, be able to go out and submit to festivals and then attend those festivals. Like that's then them helping you in your career. So you just want to always keep adding to the invitation for folks. And even if you have a small audience, I will tell you it is great to have 200 people that you have a direct relationship with. Is so much better than like 5,000 people that hardly know you. So really connect directly one to one with the people that you know. And then the
Perfect.
second piece was marketing, right?
Yes, marketing. And Brian has a specific question about Kickstarter's marketing tools. If you can talk a little bit about performance marketing, if that is applicable or how that can be applicable to films, as well as how we, or maybe I can speak to sort of how we promote for long story short and such.
Yeah, Charlotte, if you could speak to how we promote for long story
Mhm.
short. I think long story short, just in terms of like the performance marketing piece, long story short is going to be the best option for marketing from Kickstarter. If you're working on a short film, it absolutely is because we do a lot to push the films out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so if you participate in Long Story Short, we do a couple of things. So you get a specific tag on your page. It shows up on the project page, kind of right next to the Projects We Love badge. It allows people to discover your project. So we have a curated collection of projects participating. It'll be on the homepage. It'll be visible through project discovery. And then we on the marketing team here at Kickstarter choose projects that are participating, that have been given the Projects We Love badge, and we'll promote those on a sort of collective basis to our email, on-site, and mobile communities. So if you heed Taylor's advice, make a realistic budget, a great project video, we can get you the Projects We Love badge. And then from there, it opens up a lot of opportunity to get promoted within Kickstarter's owned marketing channels. Awesome. We've got tons of great questions here. Um, where is this next one I'm looking for? This is an interesting one for sort of marketing and working your network. What do you think about social media versus email versus phone calls? What is maybe the breakdown people should be thinking about, or are we seeing more success with certain ways of communication compared to others?
Yeah, that's great. You should do it all and you should do it strategically. You do not need to call every single person in your contact list. But for the higher tier rewards, you should call those people. You should text those people maybe first, especially if you haven't talked in a while. Say, um, hey, I'm really excited. I'm making a film and I would love to invite you to I'm making a film and I'd love to talk to you more about it. Do you have time for a call? You can mention in a quick text you can mention the reward level that you want them to come in at, meaning I'd love to invite you to like get a special thanks credit. We can talk about more about what that means. So people, if your special thanks credit is $500 or $5,000, you want to call those people. Um, and always if are saying no, oh, they have the means, but maybe right now they can't, maybe they just booked a vacation somewhere. Then you ask them, okay, well, do you have anyone else in mind that you think that this would be that would be interested in this opportunity? Most people want to see their name up on a big screen. So, that is a really great reward for that. For social media, you absolutely want to be letting folks know on social that the campaign is running. If there's folks whose emails you don't have, but you think it would be aligned for them, DMing them is great. And sharing the invitation. Email is essential. That is just the best way to keep folks informed about what you're doing in general in your career. And so email, you absolutely want to every contact that you have, you want them to know about this. Hopefully they back this campaign, but regardless, it's great for them to know what you're doing. So that even if they don't back this one, maybe they'll back the next one because they see that you're committed to your crafting your work. Um, Social media, email, text, yeah, texting and calling. So I would bucket, between email and text call, who those people are. But email should be everyone, and text call should be folks who, you want to get in at a certain level. For family and friends, text call for that at least that $25 to $35. Hey, buy a movie ticket. Most people can buy a movie ticket, and you just need to do the work of letting them know that they have the opportunity to do so.
Love it. Yeah. As much as you can talk to people, like the more the better, right? That's all it takes.
Yeah. And
Uh
quickly, super quickly adding to that, uh, I forgot to add here about the street team element. So, folks who maybe don't
yeah.
have the means to support and back with dollars, And or people who do, you can craft a text message, a brief email that you share out that you ask them to share with 5 people. So then if you have a street team of like 10 friends who are willing to blast out to 5 people, that's 50 people. And then if they ask, that a person to blast out to a few more, then you see how your reach and the network of folks who know about your campaign, it expands. So that is a huge strategy that we, ask and tell you all to employ is okay, great. Asking other folks to then be advocates and share the project out with their network.
Great. I have a couple questions here on um, animated films in particular. So, curious if you can give some context onto how animated films or shorts do on Kickstarter in general. And then Brad has a question here asking, working on an animation project takes a little bit longer by nature. Is there an acceptable delivery time for a film like this?
Great question. Animation takes forever. And you just need to tell your people that it takes forever. One thing that animators can do, animation producers, studios can do while leveraging the Kickstarter platform is communicate. If you can offer in the updates, teasers, quick bites throughout, if you had offered like a Zoom in your rewards, or you offered like a work in progress Zoom quarterly, you know, folks are fine as long as they're hearing from you. It's when you go MIA and it's been a year and they haven't heard anything, that it makes it difficult for folks to support maybe your next project. So communication is key. When you run the campaign, you tell them, look, it's animation. This is going to take 2 years. But in those 2 years, you'll hear from me 4 or 5 times in the year, and I'm going to be providing updates. That's essential. And as long as people know what they're signing up for, you're great. But yeah, letting people animation, I would hope that most people know it takes a long time at this point, but you just have to communicate.
Another kind of question on format. What generally is the length for a short film when we talk about it here at Kickstarter, or what do you recommend for our category?
That's a really great question. Again, creative independence, like you all get to set that. We see everything from 3 to 5 minutes to 14 minutes, to TV pilot episodes that are like 30, to 40 minutes. So, for long story short, what we typically see is filmed on the shorter side, maybe under 10 minutes ish. Um, so, you know, that is something to consider, but there's really no limit on that. So, creatively, whatever it is that you're looking to make, just stick to that vision and communicate it to the audience.
Perfect. Oh, so many good questions here. I'm gonna answer a couple for you just on how long can a campaign run? What are the parameters of long story short? Seeing a couple of those questions. Okay, so in general, a Kickstarter campaign can launch or run for up to 60 days. We recommend 30 days or less. For long story short, you are asked to launch during the month of March. So you can launch March 1st, you can launch March 31st, truly your choice. And then from there, you can run, 2 weeks, 30 days, 60 days, whatever you please. Those are the only requirements for participating in March. And then, like Taylor just said, your rewards may take longer to deliver. The film may be in post and not complete yet. Those are completely okay. Really, we just want to be able to show some sort of, a storyboard, a concept for people to back and be interested in. And then you want to give yourself some time. So I wouldn't limit yourself to 1 or 2 weeks. Give yourself those 30 days or even longer. You have all this time to work your network, continue to keep people updated, and then it's still a long tail from there after you fund and go on to production. Any advice, Taylor, for a couple different genres here? Any advice for horror films? How both like how to create a great project page, but also how to market so those types of films.
Wonderful. Horror thriller does it like so well on the platform. So please run those run those campaigns because the horror thriller audience on our platform is very supportive and interested in your work. And what you want to do is show as much as you can. Well, the story itself is important for our backers there. And then you want to show, if you can, any visuals that signal to us that this is going to be a cool horror film, and the team especially. So it's the same for, across the board, but really with horror thriller, if you can show what it's going to be and get folks excited, and if it feels a little, creepy or, mysterious, or if we can feel the vibe of the project, it is very, very helpful. And if your team, if you have a cool special effects or makeup artist that's attached, and we can see some of their work either on that has been a part of the project already or will be, that's so great. If you can share kind of like, oh, Nosferatu is an inspiration, and these are the other horror folks that I draw from, any of that, it's really, really helpful because people do show up on our platform for horror.
Mhm. Same for documentary projects. Any advice there?
Yeah, docs do great on Kickstarter as well. I think the advice there would be to make sure that the folks who will watch the documentary are aware that the campaign exists in advance. So, the audience is a huge part of documentary campaigns. So if your project is about a historical figure, making sure that you're tapped into the groups, organizations that care about that figure and their work, any institutions that might care, making sure that they are fully aware of the campaign before it launches so then that they can go and back. So say it's a project, we actually had this on the platform, but a project about Maya Angelou. Okay, so tons of people care about Maya Angelou. Where are they? Who are they? And how do we make sure that they know about the campaign in advance of it launching? So you see a pretty good audience response from the start, and then it can catch on kind of like wildfire because people care about that. So if documentaries are typically like, impactful, issue based, about something that, folks haven't fully explored, maybe it's set in a certain place like Jamaica or Idaho, making sure that those communities are tapped in, especially if it's somewhat about them.
Great advice. We're close on time, but I've got a couple quick questions for you. Um, Question about from a French filmmaker. How should they approach language differences? Should the video and project page be in their native language and English? What do you recommend?
That's a great question. If you're going to be mostly tapping your audience, then, create in the language that works best for them. We do, people can easily translate. If you do share it with folks in other countries, the site can easily be translated with that quick like Google Translate button. And I do review projects that are in other languages, and they also do well. So whatever works best for your audience, because they're going to be at least 80% of who you see backing your campaign.
Yeah, and if you publish all in English, Kickstarter has a language option at the bottom of our page, so anyone can, say, okay, translate this to whatever I need. So that's also helpful. We do a lot of translation for you. I've got a couple more questions here. Um, we answered this in the chat, but I want to make sure this one gets heard live. Someone asked if they can do an online premiere or online viewing exclusive for the backers, and sort of any advice or any other ideas around digital rewards.
That's a great question. You absolutely can and should do that. And you should also add a Q&A with you as the director to that exclusive viewing. And then that's something that you can price at probably like $60 plus. So absolutely do that. And in terms of digital rewards, so again, between 25 to 35 bucks, digital access to be able to watch the film at a time that works for you in your film festival schedule. Of course, a non-downloadable link. $50 to maybe like $75 for any type of Zoom um, that you can make available. $100 plus for special thanks in the credits. $500 for any type of plus for any type of in-person opportunity. Maybe you could price it at $200 or $300. Just think about who your audience is. Again, like think about what they can afford, what they can pay for. You do want to stretch yourself a little bit. I mean, typically people who can afford something at $300 can maybe afford it at 500. So this is another thing in terms of pitching is I always say ask for more money and then you can, ask for a tier down. So if you say, hey, for $500, would you want to have your name even bigger in the special thanks credits? And then somebody says, oh no, I can't do that. You say, okay, what about $300 and your name's a little bit smaller, but it's still there. So just thinking about that as an option, but special thanks is a huge one that you can probably price at between like 100 and like 500 bucks, unless you have a bit of a name yourself, and folks can do higher like 1K plus. So then thinking about merch, I am always telling filmmakers to be mindful with merch so you don't become a shipping company. I see Alec is like, yeah. You don't want to become a shipping and fulfillment center. You also want to limit the amount of merch that you say that you're gonna, because you have to make your movie. So just be mindful of that. But merch is a great way to also socialize your film. So just think about that and make sure that you are calculating where you can make money with the merch. So t-shirt for $20 probably doesn't work for you. You might need to up that price a bit. Pens are great. But then just think about, look at different sites that make it easy for you in terms of physical rewards. And when it comes to digital things or things that are lower lift physical things, I mentioned that bar naming of drinks example. If your film takes place in a local community, if there's anything that you can offer, artwork, like just different things, just think about limited offerings that you can make that you can kind of it's um not so tedious for you to fulfill those rewards, and you can, make a bit of a profit off of them.
Great advice, Taylor. Thank you. Love the help here in the chat from Alec as well. I know we're at time. I've got one more question, y'all, because I think this one's important, and then I'll let you go. Michelle asked about relaunching a campaign. Any advice there? I'll share a creator case study here in the chat for a really successful relaunch. But Taylor, any just quick advice on trying again?
Yeah, absolutely relaunch. That is great to relaunch because you have, worked toward the goal. You see folks who did support the campaign. You can get those folks to support again. And we do for folks who relaunch, please email this email here, film@kickstarter.com, because we really work to do on our end, further promote projects that relaunch. I have an animation campaign that recently relaunched, and they're phenomenal, such a great team. Like we are always so supportive um of you all relaunching because yeah, we learn now. You have so much more learnings under the belt, tools in your toolkit. And you have, hopefully through this conversation, and also emailing us, new ways to engage your audience, to discover new folks to add to your audience, and then run a successful campaign. So we 100% recommend it, and please email us and keep us, let us know that you're doing it.
Yeah, Taylor, can you drop that email in the chat, or Becca, if you wouldn't mind, just so everyone knows how to get in contact? That
Yes.
is, and while Taylor does that, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Hope you learned a lot and came away with some inspiration, practical guidance. Really looking forward to seeing your films on Kickstarter, whether it's a feature or a short coming to Long Story Short. Keep an eye on your inbox. We'll send a recording of this session as well as some other resources to help you get prepared. And then you'll also receive our creator newsletter where we'll share product updates, tips from successful creators, and upcoming events just like this one. Thanks again for spending time with us today. We're excited to see the short films you bring to life. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much. Can't wait to see your films.